Hello and welcome. My name is Ajaxpost and we're here with a special kind of a tutorial, but hopefully also an inspirational video looking at one of the key features of Transport Fever 2, and that is the modular station. Now, every vehicle type has its own modular station. Train stations, obviously here, which is what we're looking at, but also road stations, bus and truck stations, docks and airports are also fully modular. You can mix them up between passenger and cargo, and it all works very well. But the most interesting of all those, which has the most flexibility, is going to be the train station. So what I want to do in this little tutorial episode is take a look at all the features that are available and some of the things you can do. You can mess around with the modular station building and perhaps inspire you to create something really spectacular. Now, I am only going to be using vanilla assets in this video. I'll not be looking at any mods. I will make reference to one or two every now and then, but I think there's enough to be going on with in the vanilla options to give you a flavour of what is possible and perhaps introduce something which you weren't quite aware of. If you would like me to have a look at some of the mod stations, then by all means let me know in the comments below and I will see what I can do. The first part of this is going to be looking at the basic rules, how the actual modular features work. And then in the second half of the video, we'll look at mixing it up a bit more, particularly sort of mixed consist stations, mixing passengers and cargo, and some of the more interesting things you can do, just sort of tweaking the basic rules that we'll learn in the first half. Okay, so we're going to start here and we're going to create a new station and just go through how it's built and the limitations and how large you can make it, that sort of thing. Now, when you're building a station, you select either a passenger or cargo station to start with. It has to be one or other. If you're building a passenger station, you can add cargo to it, and vice versa. If you're building a cargo station, you can at any point later add cargo features to that station. So let's look at the basic rules. We'll take a one track, a minimum 80-meter station, and we'll just slip this in here. So what can we do once we've placed our station? Into the configure option, the basic rules of the train station, we can add track to it, and I'm in 1950 something here, so I've got both standard and high speed, and also electrified and non-electrified track. We can add platforms. We can choose both passenger and cargo platforms, and we have buildings for both passengers and cargo, and a few sort of little extras which we can add to the platforms, and we'll go through all this in due course. So if we're adding tracks to it, we simply just click the track here. Now, the important thing to notice here is that tracks within a station are special. If you want to use the tracks as part of a platform at which a train stops to deliver or pick up passengers and or cargo, then you must use the station tracks. You cannot use ordinary track as platform track. What we can do, if I want to extend this track here beyond the length of the station, I could use ordinary station track here, and that will actually make it part of the stopping area of the train in the station. So it effectively elongates the platform, although there is no platform space there, as you can see. If, however, I come out of the station and just use ordinary track, we'll keep it standard speed as well. We'll just through there and through there. If I go back into configure the station, I don't have access to this track here, which means you can't edit it through the station configuration. So I can't take that track away like I can the ordinary station track. So bear in mind that you can use both tracks within a station, but if you want it to be part of the stopping space, as it were, for a train, it does need to be station track. Okay, so the next thing we might want to ask ourselves here is, how big can I make my station? You can actually make it quite large. Each of these track segments is effectively 40 meters in length, and we can place, if we wish, 13 of them alongside each other, or attached to each other. So in total we can make a station platform length of 520 meters. So that's 13 track segments. Now there are, I know already, a couple of mods on the workshop which allow you to extend that by a substantial amount. But yeah, we're not going to worry about those in this particular video. In terms of how wide, how many tracks you can put into a station, well, let's have a look. We'll use this as simply a passenger station for the moment. So we're going to have 2 tracks for every platform. And notice as I'm placing this, I've always placed it alongside or attached to an existing module, and that's one of the rules of the modular train station, is you cannot create track going, I think the correct word is transverse, so I can't have it going as it were from left to right along here, nor can I add platforms going along sort of left to right along the station here. It has to be attached to the end of or alongside an existing amount of track. Okay, so this is actually the maximum basic width of a station, which is 25 modules wide. What's a module? A module is either a track length or a passenger platform length. If we're looking at cargo platforms, let's take this out here, then we're actually looking at a double width. So as you can see there, the cargo platforms are double the width of a passenger platform. And likewise, most buildings will also be double width. The smaller ones, even the smaller ones will be. Okay, now the thing about buildings is you can only attach them to platforms. If you're attaching a building, it doesn't actually care what type of platform it is. It can be a passenger platform, as we have at the top here, or a cargo platform. It doesn't matter either way. And on that note, if you're mixing, as you can see here, I've got both the passenger and cargo symbols. It doesn't matter which building you have connected. Both types of freight, as it were, will be passed onto the street. Or connected to another station, like a bus or a truck station. So cargo will travel through a passenger building, and passengers will also travel through a cargo building to get out to the street or to a bus or a truck or boat or whatever it might be. So buildings can be placed alongside platforms only, or at the end of tracks. And as you can see here, what it does, it actually creates a terminal platform length along there as well to signify the end of the tracks. Now the one thing, as I said before, you can't do here is create tracks that now sort of come in from the south, from the bottom here. They always attach to the existing track or are alongside a platform. Notice one little thing here. If we wanted in fact to have this cargo track or this cargo platform going along here further, it does cut through the terminal building there. As you can see, it's cut short the platform, and I can put more platform on there if I so desired. And another thing to notice here on the stations are these, what I've called in my other tutorial videos, the sort of connecting tracks, the connecting lines around the station. And you can see here we've got a whole array of them on these platforms and indeed underneath the tracks themselves. Now these show you where passengers or cargo can travel across the station or along it, whichever direction they need to go. One important thing to notice here is that roads, or indeed bus stops or cargo stations, will not attach to platforms. They can only attach to buildings. So there you see we've got the blue connectors there saying that my bus station here is connected to that terminal building there. It will not attach to platforms directly, or indeed rail for that matter, fairly obviously. Now the one little proviso on that is, if we go into configure our station again, is the miscellaneous option here allows you to put passenger steps. They can be placed on either passenger or cargo platforms. Now they do allow you to attach either streets. Now you see you get the the connecting blue lines, or indeed other bus or truck or dock or airport buildings will connect to those as well. Even though they are passenger steps, they will actually still work for the transfer of cargo, of freight. So that's one way of mixing everything up on your stations. While we're looking at things like passenger steps, the other features we have here on the configure train station option are miscellaneous little options. Now, if you have some mods, you'll get a larger array of these to add to your station. And there are a couple of things we can add here. We've seen the steps. They allow you street access directly to a platform. We have the underpass here. Now, if you're building a 2-track station to start with, it will automatically put these in. Now, what these do is they represent the underpass for passenger traffic, and they can only be attached or placed on passenger platforms. So if I place that there, and you can see that gives me the underpass which connects those two platforms together. You'll notice, in fact, here on these sort of traffic lines as we've described them before, there are lines which go on the platform, along the platform and off the platform to connect outside onto the streets, but also faint lines, you can just about make them out, I hope, underneath, going sort of transverse across the station, the width of the station, and they travel underneath the platforms and the train station tracks. And that's the connection between each platform, allowing both passengers and freight to travel from one side of the station to the other. Now, one important thing on that is you don't actually need to have those connected, and we'll look at an example of that before we finish this first section of the video. And the final thing on the train station assets are the canopies, which basically provide your passengers with wet weather protection. You can just place them on there, and they again only go on passenger platforms. You cannot fit them onto cargo platforms. Finally, to remove anything from the station, any module that you don't like, you can remove the canopy. If you have sort of assets on a platform, they are what is removed first. So here I'm going to be removing, I've removed the platform already, that was careless of me. If I'm removing this here, it removes the platform. If I'm removing this here, if I'm demolishing that first, you'll notice the lack of refund value. That's removing the underpass, the steps on that platform. If I click again, it gets rid of the platform from there. Okay, and you can use that to delete any building, platforms, anything you like within the station, but it is only going to delete actual track, or sorry, only delete actual station modules, not real tracks, as it were, or real roads for that matter. Okay, and I think that covers pretty much all the basic rules of the station. You can only use the available tracks or platforms or buildings within the configure option. You cannot use ordinary track within a station, but you can run ordinary track through a station. In fact, let's see that working here. So I want to run track here. If we look at the train station again, you'll notice that if you can make them out, those very faint underground connecting lines are broken. They don't exist under ordinary track. However, your station will still work. You will still be able to move passengers and cargo across the entire width of the station, whether you have those connected underground links there or these steps on the platform. And one final thing on the basic rules of train station creation is, if you're building a mixed consist station, you are in fact creating two totally separate stations, and that's kind of indicated by the fact you now have two icons here. We have a Fayetteville, if that's how you pronounce it, passenger station, and we also have a Fayetteville freight station. And they're two quite totally separate stations, and you must route your trains to whichever one you want to deliver that train's cargo, be it passengers or freight. And if we look at the cargo station here, Fayetteville Freight, we've only got Yeah, the one terminal, which is this little bit of cargo platform down here, whereas the passenger Fayetteville station has a whole host of platforms here running across the width of the station. And we'll look more at these mixed consist stations and ways of creating them in the second part of this video. Now, I just wanted to highlight one thing about the broken underlying connections. Now, what we've got here again is a couple of platforms and 2 through tracks which are not actually connected to the platforms themselves. So these are ordinary tracks, not train station tracks. And we can see, if we configure this, the underground connections, if you can just make them out, are broken, but passengers are still collecting on the appropriate terminals platform. So we have passengers on this station, on this platform here, coming in from the bus station, and on this station here at the bottom, platform number 3, we have still plenty of passengers waiting to go to Wichita Falls. Or have I got that the wrong way around? Possibly the other way around. You don't see the passengers coming up through steps because there are no steps, but they are still able to make their way to both platforms. So you don't actually need those steps. But again, aesthetically, you might find it more attractive and more realistic to have those steps assets attached onto your platforms. So there we are. That's the end of this first part of the video, and in the next part we'll look at creating more interesting station designs, particularly those around mixed consist and unusual routes. So I'll see you in the next part.